it's performative, like it's straight up greenwashing. I've just realised that I'm wearing a green blazer and I did not actually plan that, but it's kind of perfect, so maybe I did subconsciously. Hello and welcome to the Green Stocking Society. So today we're doing a real deep dive into the crazy world of fast fashion giant Boohoo's website and all of their sustainability claims. Is it just greenwashing? Stay tuned to find out. Yes, it is. And you can tell that we're getting into serious territory here because I've got my serious blazer on and my serious hairstyle. So let's get into it. Boohoo is a clothing brand largely aimed at women, and it is part of the fast fashion industry where massive amounts of clothing are produced and sold every single day using materials and processes that are really bad for the planet, and they're sold to customers so that those customers can be on trend every single day of every single year, even though those trends change every single day of every single year. It's massively wasteful, and Boohoo is kind of one of these giants that is leading the movement, along with brands like Shein, Misguided, H&M, New Look, Primark, just to name a few. Because we're seeing a shift in the demand for sustainable fashion, and because people are waking up to things like the fact that 10% of all global carbon emissions come from the fashion industry, these brands are having to pivot their marketing and their messaging to try and catch that new sort of conscious consumer group. But that's the real issue, is the fact that they are using marketing and messaging to not actually change the way that they are doing things. They're just saying it in a different way and putting eco-friendly and green in front of their collections and their campaigns, or creating one-off collections or one-off campaigns that are just like a tiny little bit more sustainable, so that people will be distracted from the rest of their collections, the rest of their supply chain, and all of the underlying systems and processes that are unjust to people and the planet. Greenwashing can be hard to spot, and I know that a lot of people struggle with this, knowing like how ethical or sustainable is a brand actually. Like, they're saying that they're doing all these things, but are they actually doing them? How do I know who to trust? Well, there are quite a lot of red flags that you can look out for in their marketing, on their social media channels, on their websites, that will indicate whether they are actually holding themselves to the promises that they are making, and if those promises will actually amount to anything, or maybe you should just go elsewhere. Disclaimer here that if you are here because you're trying to shop a little bit more sustainably, which is amazing, do know that the responsibility does not just lie with you. Like, there are a lot of things that we can all do individually to help combat the climate crisis, but that doesn't take away from the role of giant corporations and governments and legislation, which all have a much bigger part to play. It is in giant corporations and governments' interests to put everything down to individual consumption. And while there are ways that you can become a better and more conscious consumer, it's not all solely down to you. It is ultimately down to the institutions that are controlling our economy, our industries, to make those changes from top down and to implement legislation and regulations that mean that things are done in a more environmentally friendly way and that people are actually treated well in their workplaces. So while that is true, we can still apply some pressure from the bottom up to show these institutions that actually we're not here for the greenwashing, we're not here for the plastic, we're not here for the pollution, thank you very much. It's not going in my basket. If you have the means, yes, please do shop more consciously and more sustainably, but remember, it's not all down to you, so you shouldn't feel guilty if you feel like you can't be 100% sustainable all the time and you feel like you're failing, because the systems are set up for you to fail. And the fact that you're here watching this video right now is obviously a great first step, so keep watching. Okay, so let's get into it and open up the Boohoo website. And here it is. So the first thing that I'm seeing on their homepage is that they've got this Valentine's Day messaging on. Obviously it's Valentine's Day coming up at the moment, so they're going to have, you know, their own collection. And the taglines that they've decided to go with are, love whoever, love whatever, just love yourself first. So the thing with this messaging about telling women to empower each other, to look after themselves, is all really well and good, except for when 80% of garment workers around the world are women, and they are not treated well, they do not have safe working conditions, they are abused at work, they don't get paid enough, and these are the things in the supply chain that are obviously not transparent to the customer, but all they see is the brand's marketing message, which is all about empowering women, when actually in their supply chain they're not doing that. So that is big greenwashing flag number one. Do not love that. Also, the prices are super cheap, like £8 for a dress, which also comes down to the fact that they are paying for really cheap materials like plastic, and their packaging's plastic, and they are kind of cutting corners wherever they can and using the cheapest possible processes and the cheapest materials, which are going to be more environmentally damaging. That's just like the nature of the industry. And also they're not paying their workers enough, they're not using like renewable energy, which is a little bit more expensive, and that's why everything can be super cheap. Moving to their menu, sustainability doesn't seem to be a main item in their menu. In user experience design, your menu is supposed to be the place where you tell people what are the most important parts of the brand to navigate to on your website. So what you put in your menu says a lot about what you want your customers' attention to be directed to, and clearly sustainability is not it for Boohoo. If you go into all clothing, you'll see the Kourtney Kardashian Barker collection is there, which is their sustainable collection after she became their sustainability ambassador, which is just a whole other story that I could like talk so much more about. So if that's something, that whole story of brands using celebrities to kind of drive their sustainability initiatives and how that also ties into greenwashing, if you're interested in that, then do leave that in the comments below, and I'll think about that for the next video. So yeah, this item in their menu that is related to Kourtney doesn't actually have sustainability in there, which is a little bit odd, but there is this little link that says sustainability. It's quite hidden, but let's see where that takes us. Okay, another red flag here that I'm kind of noticing immediately is the fact that the title of the page, which you can kind of see in the tab, is recycled clothing collection. So this is likely due to the Boohoo team doing their SEO, which is search engine optimization, which basically means including words in your page titles and in the text that's on your pages that is being used by your customers when they're searching for brands and products like yours in Google. So they're already targeting people who are searching for recycled clothing, which is quite important because recycled clothing could mean a lot of things, and often it means recycled plastic, which is not the same as, say, like recycled organic cotton. If fabric is made from recycled plastic bottles, for example, that can't be remade again and again and again, which means that it will basically just end up in the bin. So it'd actually be better if, say, recycled clothing that is being made from recycled plastic bottles, if the plastic bottles were actually going back into the system for recycling plastic bottles into more plastic bottles, because that is actually something that is much more easy to do than turning recycled plastic fabric into more recycled plastic or polyester fabric. Thirdly, the really big issue with recycled polyester is the fact that it still sheds microplastics with every single wash. So these microplastics will enter the ocean and they'll be eaten by fish, which are then eaten by other animals, or they're eaten by us. So they bioaccumulate up the food chain and basically just end up in like absolutely everything ever. Another reason to be vegan, guys. The Marine Conservation Society actually have a campaign called Stop Ocean Threads at the moment, where they are campaigning to have filters fitted into washing machines to stop microplastics entering the ocean. If you're interested in getting involved with that, there's a petition that I've left in the description for this video, along with all the sources that I mention here as well. So the fact that they're focusing on recycled polyester is a big kind of red flag moment. Another red flag here for me is that, like, in the menu it says sustainability, so you might think that when you click on that page you're going to get taken to a page about what they're doing to become more sustainable, but actually it's not. They're just telling you to buy their recycled range, which is sort of implying that the biggest thing that we can do for sustainability is to shop from Boohoo's recycled polyester range. And this again stresses that the impact that you can have as an individual, and it kind of takes the blame away from them. So this is one tactic for putting the responsibility for fixing the climate crisis onto the consumer. There's also no messages of like buy only what you need, because obviously if you're only buying what you need, you're not buying more, and that's making us less money. It makes the customer feel like they're doing a bit of good, and it makes Boohoo look like they're doing some good, when actually it's just a really sort of comfortable position for both parties to be in, with no actual real compromises being made in terms of how much the consumer is consuming, or the shopping with the brands that they would normally shop from. And for Boohoo, they're not having to make any compromises in their supply chain or how many new items they're publishing every day. Okay, the next red flag for me on this page is this bit of text that they've got at the top where they say, make a kinder statement and discover fashion made from recycled materials. So make a kinder statement, like, what does that even mean? That is so vague. A kinder, like, kind in what sense? And then made from recycled materials. So like I've said, recycled materials could mean a lot of things, but often it just means recycled plastic or like recycled polyester. So recycled materials is a bit misleading because that could be really sustainable, like recycled organic cotton. That's great. Or like recycled merino wool, like fantastic. Other brands do that, but this isn't recycled materials, it's recycled polyester, like exclusively. At least in this bit of text they are like addressing re-wearing, so they say these styles were made to re-wear, so you'll wear them again and again and again, which is great, but the messaging is still like, buy more of our stuff and then keep re-wearing it. Also, if the styles that you're selling to your customers are always based on these fleeting trends that aren't going to be trends in like 2 months' time, then will your customers actually re-wear and re-wear and re-wear what they're going to buy today? Like, most likely they're not, because that's how you've designed it, so that they'll come back to you and so that they'll spend more money with you, so you'll make more profit. The way to actually like combat against this as a brand is to actually design products that are a bit more timeless, that are like essentials, things that are really versatile that people will actually wear again and again and again. We could compare examples from, say, like Rapa Nui or from Shebing. They don't have like these really massive collections, and they focus on basics like t-shirts and jumpers and hoodies and like cardigans, like the kind of stuff that everyone has in their wardrobe, and they just focus on making those really good quality, and it really works for them. But obviously that means that your customers won't come back to your site every 2 months to buy something new. So yeah, they're telling people to re-wear, but like first buy stuff from them to re-wear, and then re-wear it like twice. These red flags are really popping out today. And here's one more. So the fact in itself that Boohoo has this one separate sustainable collection, it's giving H&M conscious vibes. The rest of their clothing is still made unsustainably, like not even from recycled polyester, like just virgin polyester. These collections are a tiny amount of all their stock, like compared to the entirety of the rest of the products that they sell. It's performative, like it's straight up greenwashing. So let's scroll down and like see what they've got in their recycled collection. Again, the thing that's standing out to me is the prices. They are so low. There was also some big news a while ago about Boohoo and the working conditions that they were supplying the people that were working for them in Leicester, where most of their clothing is made. So they were paying £3.50 to £4 an hour, which is illegal because it's not minimum wage in the UK. So Labour behind the label estimated that around £50 million a year was owed to those garment workers in their factories. And for other fast fashion brands that are making their clothes in places like Bangladesh, where the labour laws are a lot more lax, it allows them to basically just abuse that and to basically pay people nothing and to have really bad working conditions, which is exactly what led to the collapse of the Rana Plaza factory in 2013, which prompted the fashion revolution movement and that whole Who Made My Clothes campaign. When you buy from genuinely sustainable brands, the price will be higher, and it should be higher. Like, we've been conditioned to think that paying £8 for a dress is normal and like that's a good deal, but we're not willing to pay like £60 for a dress that we're gonna wear for the rest of our lives, even though the cost per wear probably like brings the price down a lot more, because a dress that you'll buy from Boohoo you'll probably wear like 3 times, because then after that it won't be trending anymore and you'll want to buy a new one, or it will be like falling apart. Whereas if you buy something that you're investing a little bit more money into up front, that you're going to wear for literally like decades, that's a lot more sustainable. Often it's really hard to see the nuances behind these things because the environmental impacts and the ethics impacts are so far removed from us, like in terms of time and in terms of space as well, because most of the people that make our clothes are like way over in like Bangladesh or Pakistan or in China. So as I'm scrolling, I see this little pop-up thing that says energy saving mode. Let's see what that is. So it says with just one click you can reduce the energy used by this website. Whether you're on the website or the app, just flip the switch. Will dim the screen throughout the website and remove images where possible for a lighter, faster experience. Okay, I'm flagging it. I'm flagging it. When you click this, it says saving energy. So again, like, it makes you feel like having literally just clicked that button as a customer, like you're doing good because you're saving energy for their website. Boohoo is manipulating the people using their site to feel good about things like this. But the fact that you spent 10 minutes browsing on their website in energy saving mode is not going to cancel out the 5 items that you're going to buy from them in the next 10 minutes. Like, that's not how it works. Okay, and if we get to the bottom of this recycled collection, it says they've got over 3,100 items in this collection alone. A lot of sustainable brands don't even have this many products in the entirety of all of their collections. Okay, let's go to their actual sustainability page to see what the deal is with that. So the only place that I found to actually like get to it is right at the bottom. There's a little link in their footer that says sustainability, so again, like, really hidden. A little bit of context about me. I work in marketing in sustainable fashion, and in marketing, like, it's pretty universally understood that the pictures and the words that you choose, you're choosing them to convey a particular type of feeling that you want to create in the people reading your marketing, or you're trying to convey some kind of information, right? So like, all of the decisions about what words to use and what pictures to use, they're made consciously by marketers. So if you look at this sustainability page, for a start, like, the picture at the top is this beautiful model wearing the whatever Boohoo collection, and the hashtag says for the future. This was intentional. Like, if an actual marketing professional did this, they probably did it intentionally. It's saying like, yeah, let's talk about sustainability a little bit, because like, that's currently trending and, you know, people want to know about it and we've been in the news for it a little bit, but like, let's remember what the real focus is, which is you buying our clothes so that you can look like this model. Also, the hashtag is a real reminder of the role that social media plays in overconsumption as a whole. Making the campaign title, or like the title of their sustainability page, a hashtag is really appealing to that generation and sort of adding more fuel to that fire. There's a lot of copy on this page, but I'm going to pick out like some of my favourite sections. There's some real gems in here. Let's just take that first sentence. We are on a journey to a more sustainable future. Being on a journey suggests that you can't blame them for anything, because it's still a work in progress. And then they say, we aim to educate and inspire change to reduce the impact of fashion. Well, they say they aim to educate, like, you can aim and miss. So this whole paragraph at the top is like really vague, non-committal, like wishy-washy. If you want to believe that you are doing a good thing by shopping from Boohoo, then like, this will just really fuel your confirmation bias, which is when you read something that you already agree with, so you kind of take it as evidence of like the fact that you already agreed with. Oh, they're doing so good, like, they're inspiring change. Sorry, mate, like, take back your power, honestly. Take it back. I've pre-read some of this, so I'm just picking out some of the best, worst stuff. It's all about them listing what goes into the production of clothes, again, in a super vague way. It tells you what the issues are, but like, doesn't even try to explain them properly or explain what Boohoo is doing differently. Some of this actually reads like it's been written by a 10-year-old, honestly. I get that sustainability can be complex and a lot of brands will try to kind of like really simplify it for their customers so that it's accessible to everyone, but don't insult your customers like this. Some of the writing on here is like very, very basic. So here under fibre production, they've written, if you look at the care label, you can see the material your clothes are made from. We use lots of different fibres, but the ones you will see the most are polyester, cotton and viscose. Every fibre has a different environmental impact. And then they say what those impacts are. Like, right. Like, so? That just reads really weird to me. Like, this whole section is just like a series of like facts. So what they've done is like totally unashamedly just like listed some facts about the stuff that their clothes are made from, and then why those materials are bad. And then the next section just moves on to how clothes are made out of these materials. So where's the section where they're defending like why they continue to use these materials, even if their own site is saying that they're harming the environment? You're just admitting to not caring, basically. In the next section, they do like a pretty similar thing again, where they say textile waste is produced when garments are cut. And then like they say nothing about it. It's not like you might see on other actually sustainable brands. They might say something like, in a business as usual model of fast fashion, about 15% of the textiles actually end up on the cutting room floor, which means that they could go to waste, but instead we recycle that fabric into XYZ, or we make, you know, this other product from those offcuts. It would actually bring in some kind of like science, like evidence that 15% of textiles being cut off and left to be waste. They would bring in some of that evidence, but Boohoo don't like link any of their sources. They don't link out to like any other authorities. So in this section, even though they go through like a series of just telling you lots of random facts about the environmental impact of clothing, they don't go into like any real details. So here they say micro fibers are also released during the washing process, but they don't say that 73% of deep sea fish have been found to have consumed plastic, which is like what the actual impact of that is. So they don't connect like the consequences of the actions with just the physical thing that happens to the clothes. So there's no sort of like emotional buy-in from their customers. It's almost as if they want to put the responsibility for sustainability onto the consumer, but literally in the only sense that they just want them to buy more clothes from them. Like they don't even want them to become more sustainable, not really. And the real kicker at the bottom of this little journey through clothing production is that when customers don't want them anymore, they can look for different ways to pass them on, the clothes that is. We're not going to provide these ways for you to do that ourselves though. We're not going to say like send back anything that you don't use anymore and we'll recycle it where we can. And here again they even say, and I actually can't believe someone has like signed this off, but many garments end up in landfill or being incinerated to make energy. Like they're just plainly acknowledging that this is the case. They have the information, they know like well and good what they're doing. They're just choosing to actually not do as much about it as they should. Okay, so after that we get to this section on how they're addressing all of the things that they talked about above. Finally we're going to see some real commitments, maybe some like certifications thrown in there. Yeah, okay. Okay, one thing to watch out for with greenwashing is if a brand doesn't have any really good accreditations or certifications from a third party. And not all accreditations and certifications are made equal. Sustainable Apparel Coalition is apparently something that Boohoo says that they're a part of. So if we just visit the website for the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, so we can see from their website that this isn't actually something that you get to be like a part of when you achieve some sort of standard for sustainability in your business. Being a member provides brands and retailers the additional resources and the support they need to credibly and effectively meet sustainability goals. So it's not like Boohoo have done something to like get into this exclusive club of like really sustainable businesses. That's not it. It's important to note that with certifications, a lot of smaller brands just don't have the funds to be able to apply for these things because they're quite expensive. So it might be that they are actually using like organic farming methods, or they are paying their workers a really good wage and they're working in really good environments, but they might not be able to like show it through a third party accreditation just yet. So here they say that by 2023, that's this year, all garment packaging will be reusable, recyclable or compostable. Like firstly, those three things are totally not created equal, and any plastic used will contain over 50% recycled content. Like, okay. I wonder if they know that they can actually package their products in completely 100% plastic free packaging. Like that exists and brands are using it. Yeah, so it's 2023 now. Like where's the update on these promises, Boohoo? Like I don't see it. By 2025, no textile waste to go to landfill in the UK supply chain. Again, okay, quite misleading. Like, are you saying that you'll ensure that nothing that is bought from Boohoo will go to landfill, like after it's gone to your customers and they've worn it? Does that mean that in your supply chain, you'll be making it completely circular in the next 2 years? Like, I doubt it. Or does that mean that offcuts and things like that will be recycled, which is like a much smaller amount of like textile waste being dealt with? So even if they commit to this 2025 goal of no textile waste to landfill in the UK supply chain, the people that have bought from Boohoo and will continue buying from Boohoo, like those clothes will probably just end up in the bin anyway. And this is potentially like my favourite bit in the circularity section, where they just completely miss the point of circular fashion. They're just misleading you to think that circularity in fashion is about all of these things, even though they're just kind of distractions. These things will lengthen the lifetime of your product, which is great, but like if they still end up in the bin, it's just postponing the inevitable. If you're not familiar with these concepts, basically the linear economy is what most businesses operate in, so they will make stuff at the start that is designed to just be thrown away at the end. In a more of a reuse economy, things are reused and recycled a few times and then again, inevitably they're just thrown away. Whereas in a circular economy, you design things for them to come back around the loop, back to the supplier to be remade again and again and again and again into new materials, so there's no waste in that supply chain, and it means that your customer essentially becomes your supplier and you close the loop of production that way. You can do this with materials like organic cotton, but not with recycled polyester. Here they say that we believe fashion is for all at accessible prices, which kind of just justifies them selling really cheap stuff made unethically, like in the name of accessibility. However, there's no denying the impact fashion has on the planet. Like, the use of fashion here is interesting. It's about the industry as a whole. We're just a small part of like a much bigger problem that we're not like working to fix. And then they have this bit with these illustrations of their sustainability range, and like notice how many of the pieces drawn here are sort of trend-led. Like, do you think people will still be wearing this camo print see-through skirt or this metallic puffer in like 10 years time? A bit further down they mention Tree Nation, their reforestation partner. So Tree Nation is actually a great, like, legit organisation. Their transparency is really good. They actually look after their trees. On the Tree Nation website, you can actually see the profiles for different brands and like how many trees they've planted. It's interesting that Boohoo don't include that profile here, so let's see if we can find it. Okay, I found it, and they've planted 235,000 trees since 2021. Is that a lot? Like, it sounds like a lot, but it's not really compared to the 1.2 billion pounds per year. Like, it costs like 10p to plant a tree. Also, they're asking their customers to tag them using this really long hashtag to plant a tree. Like, why aren't they just planting a tree with every order? Planting trees is another one of these sort of greenwashy things that companies will do, but like they actually really have to look into where their trees are being planted and if they're being looked after properly. And it's something that they often use to offset their carbon emissions as well, so that brands can say that they're carbon neutral, which can actually just mean that they're not taking a good enough look at their supply chain and a good enough look at how they're producing things, but they're instead just hoping to like pay loads of tree planters to offset their carbon emissions afterwards. I've spent so long looking at this website that like the light has just completely left the room, and it's kind of exhausting, but like I've done it so you don't have to. I think we're gonna leave it there with the scrolling on Boohoo for now. So based on all of that, it's no surprise that Good On You, for example, has rated Boohoo not good enough. If you're not familiar with Good On You, it's a platform where they look at the ethics and sustainability of loads of different brands and they rate them on a scale of from we avoid to great. So Boohoo is not good enough, which is the second worst category. Good On You is really good for looking at the brands that you like to see how they're measuring up in terms of greenwashing and the promises that they're making about sustainability and ethics. Or if you're looking for more sustainable brands that you'd like to buy from, it's also really great for that. If you want to dive deeper into a lot of the things that I've talked about in terms of greenwashing or about Boohoo in particular, head to the links that I've included in the description. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to hear when I post my next video, and so that this content can spread even further to more people so that they can learn about what greenwashing is really like as well, and so that we can hold these brands to account together and create a kinder world for people and for the planet. Alright, see you next time.